Ahoy! Welcome back to Girl Historians.
I'm Carley.
I'm Blair.
And this is the comedy podcast where we talk about history and our girls.
And today we're recording in my kitchen.
I know, it's crazy.
Which is kind of fun. So we're sitting up.
Yeah.
It's fun watching the videos back, and we do just kind of like end up lying down.
Yeah.
By the end of recording.
Definitely. I've been watching podcast clips like Emma Chamberlain's podcast, Gabby Windy's podcast. And these are people who like wear sunglasses.
Oh, that's cool.
Instead of like with the lights.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's, I think, the next iteration
I think
for
that's
us.
the next iteration.
Season like 3. Not like, I mean, what season? What is the season of this podcast
I've
anymore?
stopped labeling the seasons in the thing. Like, I don't know.
I've changed them on the YouTube so that it's like, they are labeled where it's like, it'll be like, the men of Salem.
Yes.
And then it'll be like,
Salem
Witch Trials or whatever,
yes,
but it's not
good.
like a number because what is it?
I've
But
stopped counting.
next iteration of this podcast,
Yes.
we could consider just wearing sunglasses the whole time because I think
think
that would
that's
be
good.
everything for my overstimulation.
We should really just spend some money on some really, really bright studio lights.
Big old box
Just
lights.
to kind of have like
Yeah, I know.
huge, like those lights that mimic the sun. I think would be really good
Awful.
for us.
Horrible.
No, I think
What are you gonna do on set? Like you're gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do well. I hate big lights. It's fine.
Me too.
We do it for the
love of the art.
We do it for the love of the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking though, this is kind of the first time that we don't have like an overarching season. We're just kind of roguely doing the podcast right now.
But I think that kind of rocks.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
We're doing like a weird, vaguely Canadiana season,
I guess.
but then not really.
We are just it is just Canadiana because it's us.
Yeah, and we're Canadian.
Yeah.
But we're gonna announce the new season soon.
Yeah, we're doing research.
Yes.
I actually have to wait until we talk about this season, but I was sick this weekend and I truly spent like Reese went to go do a show and I spent like 4 hours. I was like, I'm gonna go to bed early, just like reading hundreds of pages of government documents.
Horrifying.
For this new season, and
Which is a normal thing to do.
yeah, regular, and like
Yeah.
it's not like we really needed it. Like it's not like these documents
No.
are about the bones of the events in which we want
Yeah.
to talk about. It's like I'm all of a sudden reading about the Bay of Pigs, and
It's
I'm
like,
like,
cool.
this is
Thank
barely
you.
related.
But it's good to know about.
Yeah, I love it.
Bay of Pigs invasion, Lawrence of Arabia.
I love that he hates that song, Billy Joel. So Billy
Does he
Joel
really?
obviously wrote "We Didn't Start
There's
the
no
Fire."
way that didn't take him such a long time to write. What do you mean he hates it?
He hates it because he thinks I think it's more of like a thing where it's obviously his most popular song.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And he's like, musically, it's actually not that good of a song. Like I have much better songs, and I do love Billy Joel. Like,
Yeah.
and I do believe Billy Joel is basically so that straight men can listen to show tunes.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like
100%.
Billy Joel because it is simply just show tunes.
yes.
And no, I can't. I realized recently having people talk to me being like, I love the podcast, being like, I actually have to stop talking shit on the podcast.
Fucking show.
I have
What?
to stop talking shit on the
Talking
podcast
shit?
about shit. Because
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
these people like that I'm talking about, making fun of, like not only are listening to the podcast, but want me to succeed. And like, that's not a good look. You know, like what the fuck is wrong with me?
Yeah. Well, you don't talk shit as much as you make observations.
This is what I mean, where I have to stop because in my brain, it's not derogatory because any kind of criticism I would levy at anyone else, I would levy at myself tenfold. So I'm like, we're just kind of all living in a world where like I'm pointing out the stupid shit you've done, but
Yes.
I point out the stupid shit I do every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, you self-reflect.
Exactly. But I also don't want people to feel bad about it if they don't have the context. All that's to say, I was going to say a Billy Joel side note, but I can't because it's
come
about
on.
it's about a local production of people that probably I saw Billy Joel jukebox musical.
Oh, cool.
That turned into an Elton John jukebox musical halfway through at Fringe
That's really
last
good.
year. And
Oh, scenes at a diner or something.
scenes from an Italian restaurant.
Scenes from an
which
Italian
is a Billy
restaurant.
Joel song.
That's cool. That's cool.
Um,
And it was great.
it was awesome. It was great in the sense that any jukebox musical, I'm not really that mad because the songs are good.
Okay, here's a question for you. If you were to manifest one jukebox musical, like of one artist's songs, what would you?
That's a great
what would you
question.
do?
Because I for a long time have said Billy Joel or Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
'Cause I think-
well, that's kind of 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Maybe?
but I would make it like a more proper jukebox.
Yes.
You know, because I think the problem is there's lots of musicians I love, but you need to have somebody that has a big range of like something that can be a ballad, something that can be a
Yes.
duet.
Yes.
Or I just do some stupid shit. I do Blackpink, but it's like
Oh, that's
Moulin
good.
Rouge. Have you seen clips
Yes.
of Moulin Rouge where it's like an old man going like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 1. Yes.
What is this musical?
No, I think they just like update it with different songs because it's like
crazy.
a cabaret style.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if like cabaret did that?
Oh, I would love.
That would be terrifying and out of pocket.
I was reading about the new production of Cabaret,
Oh, God.
which obviously, famously, we know from Eddie Redmayne going, Welcome and bienvenue.
Welcome, friend, étranger, stranger.
You're so good at it.
I love cabaret.
Your impression of him doing it is so good.
Je suis enchanté. Happy to say. Okay, I'm done.
You need to do something with this. This needs to be a bit. That's so funny.
Thank you. I'm trying something new.
You're the MC.
I played Fraulein Schneider,
Right.
which is
You beefed with the costume girl.
Oh yeah, I beefed with the costume girl. If you're listening, it was your fault. I won't apologize.
And you don't have to.
But yeah, Fraulein Schneider is a great character, but all her songs are just sort of the songs you're like, all right, get off. We want the dancing people back.
Yeah, it feels like
It's
this is
rough.
it's happening because they need to do like a costume change or whatever. It's that UCB
Yes.
characters bit that's like the worst song in a musical.
Yeah, 100%.
It's an old man sitting in a chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares.
So sorry, you're reading about the new production of Cabaret.
Oh yeah, just because I've been researching for a Patreon video about the Great Gatsby musical, which
huge.
obviously I have an encyclopedic amount of
Yes.
knowledge on. But I didn't know that there was drama after when I started paying attention to it. Because I got a message from Ashley Norton, who we've had on the podcast, and she was like, have you seen that the guy who's playing Gatsby now? So after Jeremy Jordan's left, they've hired the guy who originated JD in the Heathers off Broadway.
Oh God, okay.
And he's hexing people in the audience now because they laugh when
What?
Gatsby dies.
He's hexing?
Yeah.
Like he's putting a spell on them.
He's hexing.
How?
I don't know it's on his Instagram story, so I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
But it's that, and also this is the Great Gatsby, the musical that's on Broadway right now. But it's also about the like warring Great Gatsby. So there's like the Florence Welch, Florence and the Machine, Gatsby
Yes.
that she did in Boston.
Yes.
They got great reviews, but then she fired the creative team,
Oh.
including Rachel Chafkin, who directed Natasha Pierre in The Great Comet. She
Whoa.
directed something else that Hadestown.
Oh my God.
So fired her
What the
and
hell?
hired Rebecca Firkin or something, but she's the director of the new Cabaret, and she's bringing her whole
Oh.
team with it. But now there's been no news since like August, but I didn't know all this, and I was like, drama.
Whoa.
I was on the Broadway World message boards, which is a dark place
Oh,
to
God.
be, but so messy.
So
like
scary.
it's just who's using a message board in 2025?
No, I always think about this. Like people who are logging in to
Who
clock
are you?
hours on message boards is crazy.
Yeah.
Like just putting in a shift.
On the Broadway World Gatsby message
Logging
board.
in, typing in your password because Google Change doesn't know what the fuck
Exactly.
you're doing. Logging. No, what's up? No, that's terrifying.
Crazy. So that was all. And then I was reading about Cabaret and rewatched that video of Eddie Redmayne doing it. And they've cropped so many performances to be like of him doing the MC in parallel, like kind of like in a profile, so that it can be like a TikTok. But all that does is it makes it seem like he is so close to you and breathing on you, like you can
Yes.
feel his breath.
It's like, hey Eddie,
And he is
what's
doing
up?
what the musical is like.
Yeah.
He's doing what the assignment is. It's just that it's horrible.
It's a little bit much.
It's a bit much. He's
Well, it's
obviously so.
supposed to be unnerving, but
Yes.
there is a limit.
I think there's something with like film actors getting to do Broadway that they're so
So
gleeful.
excited.
Yes. that when they do it, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, 10% down.
Well,
Yeah, take.
that was like Emma Stone when she did Cabaret too,
Yes.
and like love her, but I was like, girl, you are screaming.
I know.
And I get it, like Sally Bowles, you gotta be extra, but like, God, you are fucking stressing me out right now, Emma.
Yeah, there is just like a difference. Like
Emma.
when a film actor is like
Emma.
asked to like turn a performance up to like 100, it is a lot of like screaming, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of like, it's not overacting, but it's like the character has to then be basically having a mental breakdown for it to
Yes.
feel as real. Whereas like in theater, you can just like do it bigger, but the character is still in the same mental
Yes.
space. But like that does not translate. They're like,
No.
oh, you want me to do the MC, but he has lost his mind.
Yes, then I'm gonna get crazy.
So that's what's been new with me.
What a good song.
Yeah.
I want to see a jukebox musical. Okay, have you seen Hedwig and the Angry Inch?
Yes, love.
Amazing. I want one like that. That's just kind of like a rock band songs.
Just
And
like
then-
a bunch of different rock bands?
No, just one rock band. I
Okay.
want it to be Against Me.
Okay.
Except here's the thing. I love Against Me. And do you know this,
I don't.
Like, okay, so Against Me is this like Like kind of like they're a punk band. They've been around since like the 90s. Like probably like early 90s, I want to say. Someone in the comments is going to get very angry at me. But like they've been around forever, and their lead singer transitioned.
Love.
Like throughout the like scope of their band.
That's sick.
And it was really interesting. And so they put out this album. They've been around for whatever, like they did very like anarchist kind of punk stuff. And they put out an album called Transgender Dysphoria Blues in like 2014. It's a really cool album. And so it's like this punk music about like transitioning your gender.
Crazy.
And she is very cool in that sense. And the band is very unique in the way that they've been around for so long and they've been through so much.
Yeah.
But then I read her autobiography.
What happened?
And when just like, I'm not going to say, so it's Laura Jane Grace is her name. And she's like, it's when you read the biography of someone who's like functionally just like a rock, like a punk musician. And you're just like, oh, like the reason that you had these like terrible experiences with your band is because you are addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
It's the Anthony Kiedis of it all, where it's just like,
I know what you mean.
Your story's really cool, but it's hard to kind of sympathize with like, your story when a lot of the time you were just like, oh, I just like didn't show up to the start of our tour. And it's like, because you were on drugs.
Yes, exactly. And it's hard, I think, like there's different personalities, right? And when I read those stories, I have a hard time because I can identify myself in that story and I'm not the person who's addicted to drugs and not showing
you're the
up.
person who's sort of
I'm
like,
pissed.
hey, I understand you're kind of doing main character right now.
You're
but
going
like,
through it, respect.
But like, we have like a gig and we're gonna get sued if we don't do this.
Yes, exactly.
So
it's hard, but so I assume if you're that kind of person though, you can like. I think it's a story that can be told, but I know exactly what you're saying. Continue.
But no, Against Me, one of my all-time favorite bands. It doesn't say anything to that. It was just sort of like reading the autobiography was a little bit like, uh-oh. So my answer would be Fall Out Boy. I want to Fall Out Boy jukebox musical.
Obsessed.
Yeah. Oh man. Did you hear that Sugar We're Going Down was apparently written about a man?
Oh no, I love that.
Yeah.
That's like when I found out that the singer of not Talking Heads? No. Who wrote Everybody Talks? What's that?
Neon Trees.
Neon Trees. It's not Talking Heads. I know it's not akin to Talking Heads, but it's like a band name like that. I think you're right. It's Neon Trees, but that's about
Neon Trees,
being bi or
talks.
being gay, and everybody
Started with a whisper.
And I was like, whoa, because that was the first song I was like, rock music can change lives. Because I was like 11 or
Neon
something.
Trees.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
But yeah, I didn't know that Sugar We're Going Down was written about a man.
This is a rumor, but it's because Pete Wentz is like bi, I guess.
Love.
And apparently it's written about a guy. And so wishing to be the friction in your jeans.
Yeah.
And apparently it was originally be the friction in his jeans.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Fuck yeah.
Because it doesn't really make sense otherwise.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Fall Out Boy's so cool. I could go on about Fall Out Boy forever. They have crazy roots also.
I believe.
They were all in separate, super, super hardcore bands in like the Chicago hardcore scene. And then they thought everyone was like a sellout. And so they were like, okay, we're just kind of going to do this band because we're good enough at music that we think we can make a band that will make us a ton of money.
Yeah, like let's sell out, but like let's do it right.
Let's sell out, but like let's sell out like in like a fun way.
Yeah, exactly. Like we know we're doing it and that's fine.
Yeah, and then they started Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, that's what I was watching. I've been watching John Mulaney's new show. Everybody's Live. He's doing like a live. I mean, here's the thing. The show is like fine. I just really like him. Like I just think his comedy, it really never fails to make me laugh, and I think he does really interesting stuff.
Yeah, he's silly.
Yeah, exactly. So they were talking about cruises on the last episode, and they had to call people call in, and they had a moment that I really felt vindicated because they were talking about Quintuplets was like the Titanic was a cruise, and I'm sitting here being like, it's literally an ocean liner. But like I know that I have that information because not everybody's literally done a podcast 12 episodes on the Titanic.
No. And maybe they should.
And maybe they should because they actually sound so fucking stupid.
You actually sound dumb when you say the Titanic's a cruise.
Because it's actually not, it's an ocean liner. But then they had a cruise expert on as well, and she's like, it's an ocean liner. And I was like, fucking yes. And they're like, what's the difference?
Like,
they're like, well, no, a cruise, like an ocean liner is like a bus.
Yeah.
Like, you're just
gotta
getting from one place to another.
People were
the
immigrating,
cruise
babe.
is the location.
Yeah.
You don't go on a cruise because you're like, oh, I'm going to wherever it drops you off. You're going on a cruise to go on the cruise.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I felt very vindicated by that. All that's to say is that they were talking afterwards about somebody had gone on a Kiss cruise, like the band Kiss themed cruise.
My God.
And John Mulaney was like, Kiss is really interesting to me because, like, you rarely hear a band that's just like, no, it's about the money. Like, it's not about the music. Like, we're just really good at marketing.
Dude, those guys, I hate Kiss. I do not fuck with Kiss. Gene Simmons is an asshole.
Yes.
I do not fuck with that
My
guy.
mom would watch Gene Simmons' Family Jewels reality show.
Well, of course.
And I just remember, and hey, love and light, whatever, whatever you want. But I remember as a kid, just like him, like 5-episode arc, them all going to Israel, like just, and like, obviously maybe Gene Simmons' Family Jewels is not where you like really want to get like a geopolitical education. But they were like, isn't this a great vacation spot? We love it here.
Whoa.
We love it.
No, fuck Kiss. I do not like those guys at all. Their music is shit. And they sold out they went disco. Kiss went fucking disco. I hate whenever people are just like, oh, so hardcore. They're wearing like the Kiss makeup. No. And I'm like, they went disco. They made I Was Made for Loving You, baby.
Yeah.
That song sucks.
I know. And I do like disco.
I like disco too. That's like barely disco.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's Kissco.
That's Kiss. Kissco. I hate Kiss. I hate
That's fair. Band. So my mom also used to watch whatever I forget the name of the show, but it was Ozzy Osbourne's version of that show. But that was the real version of it. Like that was the first one, because also that has Sharon Stone, right?
Oh,
or not, right?
No,
Sharon Osbourne. Sorry,
Sharon
Osbourne.
Yeah.
But she's like meant to be on TV. Like,
no, she's
great.
iconic.
Kelly Osbourne.
It's like those clips from that show though, like they're so funny. Like obviously Ozzy Osbourne is suffering from severe alcoholism during it, but like goes, someone's broke into my room and drank all my beer.
Ozzy, no.
Oh, who would have done that, darling? That was you who drank the beer. It's so funny.
And also, like, how you have enough money? Mm-hmm. Why are you doing this? You have enough money.
I think they don't.
Yeah, they spend it all.
Yeah, I think people spend all their money. This is what I'm realizing.
Shall we talk about the Dionne Quintuplets?
Oh yeah, we're talking about the Dionne Quintuplets today. Shall we take a little break and then we'll go into it?
Yeah, I'm excited because I know a bit, but I want to know the whole story.
I know. I didn't think I knew very much, and I knew nothing.
Okay,
we'll be right back. Okay, so let's get into it.
Canadian history. Herstory.
It really is herstory. Also in the way that I found out recently that my grandmother went to see the Dionne Quintuplets.
Which is so funny.
It's terrifying.
What a piece of history to be a part of.
I know, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Because they were huge. I didn't realize how huge they were.
Yeah, they were an icon.
They were.
We'll talk about it as we get on with it. But I find them. They were famous quintuplets.
Yes.
So 5, right?
Yeah. So there were 5 girls who were born at the same time. So like triplets, but 5.
Yeah.
And they basically just became a circus attraction, more or less. That's the Cliff Notes.
It's crazy. There's so many levels of it that are crazy to me. First of all, because it's the past, like
everything's bad.
Well, yeah, like we've seen basically crazy shit online all the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to fathom like going somewhere to see that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like we were
getting
raised
in the car,
era of
driving out.
Octomom. Like
I would never have gone to see Octomom.
no, because you can see her online or whatever.
Yeah, I
but
could
that's what
just
it is. So it's
Google.
so funny to imagine being like, you show up and you're like, yep, they look the same.
Yep. Look at those babies.
And also, all babies look the same.
yeah.
5 adults that all look identical
Horrifying.
would be more of an attraction to me because that is a
yeah.
horror show. But 5 babies that look alike, I'm like, yep.
Well, you
and
know-
it was their dad, right? Isn't it their dad who got them in on it? Who's like really...
Yeah.
It's funny to me also, obviously sad, obviously abuse. But it is a little like kind of crazy to imagine somebody, like just a dad being like pretty freaky, right?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yikes.
It's kind of weird. Okay, so like I have a lot to say actually
Yes, go off.
during my real pit of research that I did.
Yeah.
Honestly, I got quite in the hole on this one.
Okay. Well, and I famously have, sorry to cut you off.
No,
I
go
famously have the best Secret Santa gift I've ever gotten is from Margaret, who is one of my closest friends' partners. And she had me. And she got me his and hers Dionne Quintuplets buttons.
That's cool.
I'll send you a picture. We can put it on the Instagram.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they're just 2 buttons. Like, because you would go see the Dionne Quintuplets
and then
you would go to the gift shop.
You go to the gift shop.
But she found on eBay 2 of them because she told me about them and I was like, I've never heard of this. What
Yeah.
is this? And they are so creepy. It's just two buttons that are like sun bleached because they've been in some box somewhere of just identical babies.
It's like, yep, those are babies.
But what if, like, you know, when somebody just gets something and you're like, I never expected this. Like, I really thought I was getting a gift card, or like, because I read, people really latch onto that when getting me a gift, and I'm like, yeah, but like, I can get a book, like,
yeah, they get you the fucking Hunger Games.
Exactly, and it's nice. A gift anytime is really, really nice.
Oh yeah,
but it's like, it's nice to be surprised when somebody knows you deeper than like your
interests.
Yeah, your very forward interests. So I was like, oh, this rocks.
Yeah. That's amazing. No, this was like, I totally get that. Like getting a gift that just like hits. And it's like, oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I both like esoteric things. Really, like our favorite gifts are always like collector's items.
Yeah.
Were found in bins. Like, yeah, garbage.
Yes. Agreed.
What
like,
an amazing piece of garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like
excited.
It's not even related in any way to like even an actual interest. It's not like I'm super interested in them.
Yeah.
But like we talked about it once. And I was like, I'm so happy to have surely what should be garbage, but now sits on my dresser. And every day when I'm putting my makeup on, I'm like, those are the Dionne Quintuplets.
I'm like, I think about this every day of my damn life.
Yes.
Okay, so the Dionne Quintuplets, our story starts.
The Dionne Quintuplets.
Oh, Jesus.
I love
Starting
that.
off on a terrible note.
I love that.
The Dionne Quintuplets. Born on May 28th, 1934. Geminis.
Wow.
They're
Five-faced
Geminis,
Yeah.
let me tell ya. Gemini is a sign of twins, so whenever there are twins born as Geminis, I'm sort of like, okay, so like a little on the nose.
Yeah, it feels like they should be something else. Cancer.
Cancer.
Yeah.
Like, what's the least twin sign? Like, I feel like
Taurus.
I feel kind of like
Sag?
Scorpio. Like, yeah,
Scorpio,
like Scorpio or Sag.
Yeah, very like
twins.
independent.
Yeah, it's just sort of like there's two of you.
Scorpio twins are crazy. That would be so scary.
Scorpio
if there was
twins-
twins that were Scorpio, I'd be like, this is too much.
I think my upstairs neighbors might be Scorpio twins.
And that checks out. Yeah. Nobody loves soda more than those Scorpio twins love soda.
No, those are not though. The
Okay.
different neighbors with the soda.
They're the ones that wanted to get on the lists.
Yes,
Like PR lists.
Yeah, no, the gay twins who live above me. If you guys are listening to this, you guys rock.
Yeah, we love.
They always, every time a new album drops, I hear it through my walls before I listen to it. Like the day that Brat dropped, I heard the whole thing just muffled through the
They're
walls.
listening to Brat. That's cool though.
No, they're on it. They've got it.
That's the truth of like, this was something that I'm really talking about her today, but for some reason, but Gabby Windy from The Traders, Robbie Hoffman's wife, obsessed.
Insane.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
But she will obviously just say like out of pocket crazy things on her podcast, and she is like, "You'll never get a noise complaint if you actually just have good taste in music."
It's
and I'm like,
true.
"That is true, though."
No, it's actually
like,
true.
when my neighbors are listening to Kanye, I'm like, "All right."
All right.
In this political climate, I don't know. But if it was Brat, I'd be happy.
I'd be fine with it. No, I remember once my upstairs neighbor at my old place in Christie Pitts was playing in the middle of the night just with a subwoofer on the floor, so my room was shaking, and I never noise really doesn't bother me because
but the
I also
subwoofer
don't. I was like, so now the room is shaking, and they were playing "Numb" by Linkin Park. It was like 3:00 in the morning.
This is a pandemic.
I
Is
went
this
up and
during the
I was like,
pandemic?
Yeah,
Yeah, it had to be.
and I was like, hey, I never do this, but my room is shaking to Linkin Park right now. Anyway,
That is so funny.
no, I've never done it.
That
Other
is
than that.
so funny. Yeah, I've never made a noise complaint because there hasn't really. Now that my sister lives underneath me, I've thought about it because like I can control her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you
I've
could
thought
just
about
call the cops on her.
Yeah, like not even that, but I've often thought of like what they did in like Friends, like what the guy above them did, like hitting like
Yeah.
a broom.
Can you hear her?
Yeah, you can hear everything that's happening in the house.
Oh my god.
Not like super loud. Like one time she did text me because it was like midnight and I was listening to Blue by Joni Mitchell and she was like, "Are you? Hey, like I don't care, but like,
Are you okay?
are you okay?"
No, this was during the pandemic. I got really into listening to just the entirety of Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. Like
Yes.
start to finish,
Yeah.
lights off in my room. And at one point my like neighbors who lived 2 floors above me were like, "Hey, every time I walk by your apartment,
You're
Voodoo Child's just playing really loud." And I was like, "Yeah.
That is so funny.
Don't worry about it.
I'm actually
Don't worry about it.
fine, so don't worry
I'm
about it.
Fine. I'm just, God is a left-handed guitarist.
And don't worry about
And
it.
he's speaking to me through an album right now.
I always think about that with
I'm
our
fine.
Jimi Hendrix episode about how his teacher was like, it would be mentally
Abusive.
abusive to not get this child a guitar. I think it would be detrimental if he did not have a guitar.
Yeah. And I love Jimi Hendrix. He's one of my, I feel like I don't talk enough about how he might be my favorite musician of all time.
That's awesome, though.
I love Jimi Hendrix. Anyway, so they're born on a farm in the village of Corbeil, Ontario, outside North Bay. Okay, and disclaimer, there are some French-Canadian words in this.
Wah.
Wah, wah.
Not to come at them, but that's how you all fucking sound. Sorry, that's so rude. I was saying like not to come at you and then was being, some might say, actively rude.
Yeah, a little bit anti-French Canadians.
I know, and I don't mean to be, because every person I've actually met from French Canada is really, really nice.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just that all of my grandparents' friends were French Canadian were so fucking mean. So you know how they suffer because when I was a kid, I was like, everyone in Quebec is fucking mean to me. You know? But that's not fair.
Yeah. I'm a Quebec defender, and I think I made
yeah.
that clear on the podcast. However, there is something just like, I think that like the French Canadian, you gotta laugh at it a little bit.
You gotta.
Like, it is like, it's iconic, but it's also like, go to Montreal, get a bagel, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it sounds so.
Laval.
It's like the Brit. You know, and there's like, I don't know exactly what British accent it is, but it's like the kind of chav British
Oh, yeah.
accent.
It's like the Scouse of French.
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
it. Where you're like, wow, okay,
Hi.
hi.
Something happened to your dialect.
Here's what I will say about French Canada. I identify with them on such a deep level where if it was an option in English Canada to have a party that was a single issue party just about my interests.
Yeah.
Bitch, why haven't we done that? I would vote for that.
Oh, we talked about this in the last episode. I'm like,
Bloc Québécois.
I'm all for every country, or every province in Canada being a country.
Yeah.
And I think that Quebec should be a country.
Yeah, I think it would be detrimental to our economy
Oh,
and
it would
theirs.
be terrible.
Yeah,
and
but
I love
think-
Quebec. I want to keep Quebec.
Yeah, but I think it's within their right to want to leave.
I was pretty drunk hosting a show for Sketchfest last week, and
What did you say?
in the middle of in the middle of hosting, I got up on the mic and said, "Set Quebec free," and everyone just went like, "Oh,
They're like, okay, she's a terrorist. Too soon.
FOQ."
Yeah.
Anyway, someone in the Spotify comments accused me of knowing French. They said, "We know Blair knows French, and it could not be
No,
further from
she
the
does
truth."
not.
No,
But neither
the
do
truth.
I, so that's fine.
No, we don't know.
You
I
know
wish I knew
French,
French.
the way that people in Canada know French. Like,
I
you
can read
it.
French really well.
Cereal box French.
Yes,
You can like read it, but it's not.
I can go to Quebec and read everything I need to read.
Yeah.
But I cannot speak it.
No.
My girlfriend's from Quebec, and she makes fun of me relentlessly for every time I try to speak French.
Yeah.
She also calls herself French Canadian. She's not. She's Greek. So that's
So there you go.
sending her a fucking stray.
Yeah.
So they're born
French
in-
Canadian words in this. Yes. Because
Yeah,
they're on the border,
apologies.
right? Like that's what.
Yes.
So picture this. We're in Ontario, right? That's where we live.
Yeah.
That's kind of just like Canada basic. Like
Canada level entry.
entry level Canada.
Entry-level
What you
Canada.
imagine about Canada is
It's
that's what
happening in
Ontario,
Ontario.
is. We don't really have a special thing like BC, very beautiful, very chill. Maritimes, ocean, prairies, wide open spaces.
Yeah. Quebec French.
We're just kind of like there.
We're here. We've got Tirana.
Tirana, that's it. But then if you get close to the border of Quebec, there's a lot of basically people who are basically exclusively French speaking.
Oh,
even though
absolutely.
it is Ontario.
Yeah, a lot of like northern Ontario and Quebec is like kind of synonymous. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you get up to like anywhere around like Lake Superior, like
North
Thunder
Bay,
Bay,
yeah,
like,
Thunder Bay,
North
North
Bay.
Bay, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going. Like northern Ontario, I don't mean to send them astray by just saying that Ontario is just Toronto, because I think that there's a lot of beautiful stuff happening in northern Ontario, like Algonquin.
No,
Tons of
it's
shit
just
up
very. It's like I'm sure people in America would feel this, or wherever you live. I'm sure there's a version of that where it's like, what people know about your country is one city, so then everyone else in the country hates that city, which is like fair.
They want you gone.
That's what Toronto is. Like John Mulaney was joking about how he wanted to call his show "Everybody's in LA" again, but then Netflix was like, people don't like LA, like they don't like LA. And he was
sick of hearing about it.
what about after the fires? Like, can we test them now that the fires have happened in us? And then they tested them. They're like, no, people still don't like us.
People still don't like LA.
And that's Toronto. So, but there's lots going on in different parts. Ontario's fucking huge. All that's to
Ontario's
say is also
ginormous.
the Canadian accent is from like a northern Ontario. Very much like there's a Canadian accent.
There's a Canadian accent. There's a French Canadian accent.
These are some French Canadian quintuplets.
French Canadian quintuplets. So I don't know why when I was looking up interviews with the quintuplets, I was like shocked that they were speaking French. I don't know why that was such a surprise to me. But like
They all have
of
silly
them-
little French names too.
Stop it. Stop it now. So they're born in Corbeil, Ontario, outside of North Bay.
Okay.
It's right near the Quebec border. So they're born to a French Canadian mother and a French Canadian father.
Beautiful.
The mother's name is Elzire Dionne, and the father's name is Oliva Dionne. And they gave birth to 5 identical girls whose names were Annette, Emilie, Yvonne, Cécile, and Marie.
That's what I mean. It's like Amélie.
Amélie. To anglicize that for Americans, Annette, Emily, Yvonne, Cecile, and Marie.
Sounds so much worse.
So much
There
worse.
is just like a French to sound better.
Yvonne,
Cécile,
Cécile, Marie,
Marie.
Annette. So they were born prematurely, which often happens when you give birth to multiples or you give birth to Carley Thorne. You're born
Very
premature.
common and nothing to be ashamed of.
All babies combined, their combined weight when they were born was 14 pounds, which is crazy.
That's so small.
If I don't drink beer for 2 weeks, I lose 14 pounds. That's like not.
That's so small.
That's not true also. Unless.
But what if?
But what if? No, they were tiny, tiny. So that's the thing. Like, they were, like, no one really expects 5 babies born at the same time to survive
In the
past
past,
infancy.
especially.
Yeah, 100%.
Infant mortality rates have gone like crazy down too. Like,
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
they're not
amazing.
great now. Like, you know, in an ideal world,
Yeah.
no baby die.
No baby die.
Hard take from me.
No baby, no die. It's my Bob Marley impression,
we should
which
do
I'm not going to go
more-
harder in on.
No, come on.
Sorry, I have a pimple patch and it's making my teeth feel weird, so I'm just going to get rid of that.
Oh, what does that mean?
I don't know. I feel like I was trying to avoid it and then my teeth were scraping together. Like, it was the worst sensory thing ever.
That's
So,
horrible.
so they become the first known quintuplets to survive infancy.
Yes, bitch.
So to give you an idea of like the odds of giving birth to multiples, like 1 birth in every 250 births roughly are twins. After that, triplets are somewhere in like the 10,000s. 4 babies are somewhere in like the 300,000s. Quintuplets, 5 babies are 1 in 55 million odds.
That's crazy.
So it's like it's nuts.
Yeah.
Like it is. It does not happen.
And I joked about it at the beginning, but I think it is true of like we're used to kind of seeing weird shit as like a BuzzFeed link emailed to us.
Yeah.
But that used to not be a thing, right?
No.
It's like how in every documentary they're like, and you have to remember this is before cell phones.
This was before a time of mobile phones.
Exactly.
This was before the World Wide Web.
Exactly. But it's like you can't like this is not only crazy, also there's no way of like seeing it. Like we've
Yes.
just seen the craziest shit in the world.
Yeah, like you've never seen anything.
Yeah, in the past,
In the past.
you just would hear about it.
Yeah, you would just hear about it and you'd be like, oh, sounds fucking weird.
Yeah. That's why freak shows were a thing. It's
When-
like you couldn't see edited photos.
Exactly. You were like, I need to go see a really fat guy.
Yeah, because deep fried memes don't exist.
Because People of Walmart hasn't launched yet.
Exactly.
So immediately the girls are born, they immediately catch media attention.
Of course.
It's also like her pregnancy is like weird, right? Like she's humongous. She
Yeah.
thinks she's having twins. She also maybe like trigger warning miscarriage. Like she passes like kind of like a foreign object during the pregnancy. So there was probably like a 6th baby that was conceived.
Wow.
That like miscarried. And
What are
so
the
she was
odds?
sort of like, this pregnancy is weird. And then she
Yeah,
gave
let's get
birth
the.
to-
You know, this pregnancy is weird. You know what I should do? Call the media.
Call the media immediately. So within days of their birth, their father is approached by the Century of Progress International Exposition.
That's that's an evil name.
Yep.
That's in any movie. That's evil
It's
name.
A little evil. So it's basically a world fair that's being held in Chicago in 1933 and 1934.
Chicago.
All things go. Great song. So they wanted to display the quintuplets.
Hey, I know your babies have been born for 3 days. I
we
want to
were
get
thinking
in
of
quick.
Displayed. Yeah, exactly.
What if you
we
displayed them at the
did
World
this?
Fair?
What if we displayed them at the World Fair? And so their father,
For money.
Oliva Dionne, was persuaded into signing a contract, but he had the advice of the doctor present at their birth, who was Dr. Defoe, and also the
No.
family priest, because if you're in Northern Ontario
You have a
/ Quebec,
family.
you've got a priest.
That's in your
there.
family. You have a family priest.
Yeah, and they're also French.
Yeah.
So
may we good?
it's not
I
great.
love good.
So they signed the contract, and then the parents, like the next day, are sort of like, that's a bad idea. We actually don't want to send We don't want to send our newborn babies down to Chicago.
I've been awake for 72 hours.
Yeah.
I should not have. I can't believe the family priest would lead me astray like that.
Yeah. This is also kind of like me making inferences, but like babies, especially multiples when they're born, like they need a lot of medical attention. Like it's not like they get born like they're
Oh, girl, believe me, I was in a box.
yeah, like
I was in a box for 2 weeks.
They gotta be in a box for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna like hop them in the car down to Chicago. It's 1933, by the way.
So many diseases that baby can get.
Yeah, I'm like the babies are also 2 pounds each. So
Yeah, they need to be on a feeding tube. Like they're
Yeah.
not ready.
they're not ready. They're not strong enough. But however, they are
Fine,
like,
I guess.
Just, I don't want to do this anymore. This was a bad idea. We never should have signed our babies up to be in the fair.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm not really a fan of any adult in this story, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But I do think that the doctor was pretty shady. I think the doctor was kind of like
Not Dr. Defoe.
Dr. Defoe's name is a little bit ominous.
Yeah.
I think he's a little bit like, I just delivered 5 babies. This is going to be huge for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do think that he was maybe a bit of a shadier player in this than he wants us all to think. So they changed their mind, but then the people running the fair were sort of like, you can't change your mind. You signed a contract. We want the babies.
That's horrible.
We want the babies here. And so the legal battle, thinking of babies, legal battle followed.
Oh my God.
And Oliva then signs custody of the girls over to the Red Cross of Canada to protect them from the contract. So that's kind of the contract. So they are now like
Of the state.
no, they're wards of the Red Cross. They become wards of the Crown later. It's a mess.
Okay.
So immediately they're sort of like, hey, Red Cross, can you just kind of like own our children?
And the Red Cross is like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And they're like, and in return, we'll like pay their medical bills.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And they also oversaw the building of a hospital specifically for the Dionne Quintuplets.
Fuck yeah, that's glam.
Also, okay, there were a couple of conflicting sources. Either just the parents ended up going to Chicago or they all just did end up going to Chicago to this fair. So the whole thing's a bunch of hokey balogey,
Yeah.
if you ask me. And then the Canadian government then signs the Dionne Quintuplets Act, which makes the girls wards of the Crown to protect them from further exploitation.
Well,
That's
and how
their
is that?
reasoning.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not going to... I have 2 buttons of theirs, so that obviously
Yeah.
didn't pan out.
I think they gave it a go. They did not. So they said they were doing this to give the girls protection and a good life, but obviously they were still very
That's just
exploitative.
not true.
It's just not true. So the hospital they built for the girls was called the Defoe Hospital after the doctor. And they built it for the girls to grow up in. It was surrounded by a 7-foot-high barbed wire fence.
Oh my God.
And it was a theme park. Yeah. And it opened to the public in 1936. So the girls are like
People
2
are like,
years
"It's
old.
the Great Depression. We need a laugh.
Well, that's kind of the thing where it's like, yeah, like it is the 30s and everyone's so miserable.
Let's
they're
see some.
sort of like,
Let's see 5 identical
5
girls.
fucking babies just got born. Have you guys heard this?
Yeah.
Don't worry about.
They're happy.
Don't worry about
Trust it.
starving people. There's 5 babies.
Yeah.
5 babies at the same damn time.
That would be crazy.
Also, for context, the Dionne family had 5 kids before this and 3 kids after it.
Why would you have more kids after you just sign your 5 kids away to the... That's
They
crazy
had
to
3
me.
more kids after this.
Stop having
That
sex.
woman.
Do oral. Just
do oral.
simply do
69
oral.
each other.
Do
for a little bit.
oral.
Peg him.
Peg him.
Peg him. See how he likes it.
Yeah.
So they have like a large number of staff. And then the way the hospital's set up is that visitors could see the girls via a viewing room with a glass partition.
That's tough.
And
That's like 11 and Stranger Things.
Yeah,
like
it's-
that's not good.
yeah, there's like signs that say like silence while the girls play, like don't tap the glass, like
like
freaky shit.
moodang.
Literally moodang. They moodanged the babies.
The Dionne Quintuplets.
And I was upset when we moodang.
I know.
I don't. Anyway, so
Pure soul.
over the next.
Can I ask
go
a
ahead.
question?
Yes.
Are they the only ones in this hospital?
Yeah.
It's like a
just
theme
them.
park just for them. That's really dystopian. That is really crazy.
They literally build, and I mean, like part of it is fair, which is like they did need people to take care of them because they are 5 babies who needed medical
Belong to
attention.
the
But
state,
it was
yeah.
also kind of like it had never happened before, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that I'm defending it, but like
No, but this is at least like how it got to this like immediate theme park evil shit.
And
so
you're
fast.
like in rural Ontario. Like I do think that had they been born in like a metropolitan area, it still wouldn't have been good, but like they probably would have at least gone to like a university or something.
Yeah. It's kind of like in Mickey 17 when there's the science.
good.
Some of the scientists care about Mickey and about the creepers. Yeah. But
Yes.
like some of them, you
Some
know
of
what I
them
mean?
don't.
Like you know,
Yeah.
some of them don't.
Dude, Mickey 17 was so good.
I know. I
loved
Bong Joon-ho. You will always be famous to
God,
me.
he's so good. I gotta rewatch Parasite.
I know. I want to rewatch Parasites on Crave, but I also want to
one.
watch Okja.
I rewatched Wolf of Wall Street.
You like it?
Great movie.
I forgot that Fran Lebowitz is in that.
I know. I was shocked when she popped up. I was like, pardon me? I guess I didn't know. I don't know when the last time I watched Wolf of Wall Street was.
No,
but
me
I
neither.
did not know who Frances Leibowitz was at the time, clearly.
Yeah.
And I rewatched Spotlight. Finally, I finished it. and
I've
it's
never
amazing.
seen. And
You gotta see
yeah,
it.
I know.
Crazy
Paloma
movie.
Nunez.
Paloma Nunez
that.
is in it.
Her husband directed Reese and Griffin's show. That's nuts, isn't it?
That's nuts. No, that's crazy.
And she's in Spotlight.
So over the next 7 years, approximately 3 million people come to see the Dionnes.
That is so many people.
Yeah.
That's what population of Canada is? That's a third of our population at the time?
It's like it's not a lot. Like it's a huge percentage.
We do
of
not
the
have a lot of people
population.
who live here.
No. And one of those people was Elsie Crabtree.
Yes!
My grandmother. And yes, my mother's maiden name is Crabtree.
Yeah.
And yep. So this is a huge money-making thing for the Canadian government with the entry fee to Quint land, which was what it was called. Their
Insane.
little hospital complex, which is what it was. It was a complex. It was a theme park. Generated over $50 million in entry fees.
In the past.
In the past.
So that's a lot of money.
So that's a lot of money. At its peak, like when it was most popular, it rivaled like Niagara Falls.
No,
Like that was the
guys.
only thing that it like.
And also, like, I can't explain to you where North Bay is. It's so out of the way. Like, Niagara
North Bay
Falls is
rocks.
really busy. It's great, but I'm just saying it's far. Like,
Oh, it's so
Ontario
far.
is huge.
It's like 7 hours from Toronto or something.
Yeah. So it's like 8 hours from the border.
Yeah.
Probably. Like
Maybe
to
less,
America.
but
But,
it's
like
far.
it's far. Where it's like
Yeah.
Niagara Falls is like right there on the border, big old falls, and then it's like fucking Ripley's Believe It or Not or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're driving hours to see the Dionne Quintuplets.
No,
Hours.
100%.
And it's the past too, so it's like they can be taking trains. Like how are you know what I mean?
It's
like,
a vacation spot.
yeah.
100%. So Dr. Defoe profited enormously
Boo, boo.
and became one of the most famous physicians in the world. He wrote several books and did a bunch of fucking brand deals.
What?
With like Colgate and Lysol. He was doing influencer shit.
Boo.
He was literally being like, oh, I'm the doctor, Dionne Quintuplets, and I use fucking Lysol to clean their thing. Like, oh my, this guy,
bad. That's really bad.
this guy's gonna catch hands.
Yeah.
He would also go on the radio. Like he was
Of course,
literally,
he loves attention.
he was literally an influencer.
He just wants to be one of those plastic surgeons that makes YouTube videos about how Ariana Grande has plastic surgery.
which always pisses me off. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're a good plastic surgeon, no one would know your name. Your
This is
name
what
would be
I'm
whispered
saying.
in the shadows.
Like, why aren't you a YouTuber? I know why I'm a YouTuber, but I don't know why you're a YouTuber.
It's weird. So by 1937, nearly 3,000 people daily were passing through Quintland. And eventually people start being like, this seems like exploitation. Yeah. They start to be like a little, and this is like a lot of like the church, to be honest. They're
Hey.
sort of like, hey,
Good.
what's up? These girls are owned by the government and being
And
used as
just,
theme park animals.
Like, that's crazy.
It was also like the way they would do things was like they would literally just watch them like live their lives and like eat and stuff, and then they would take them out like periodically to play in the parks,
Like
so
a
that people
zoo.
could watch them play. Like
That's
it was
insane.
literally like a zoo. So the parents were also like starting this campaign, being like, "We want our kids back," and custody was restored to the parents by 1942.
So, like, how old would they be?
1942, they would have been 8.
Okay.
So also like not to be that bitch, but I'm like, did you give custody back to the parents when they stopped like
Being
that-
cute,
being
cute, little. Yeah. They're about to be tweens. Soon.
Yeah, they're about to like start getting zits. Like, let's give them back to the parents. But this also wasn't good because the parents were just gonna turn around and exploit them back. So a trust fund was set up for the girls when the government took custody of them. So going back to when the government stepped in and they became wards of the crown, they set up this trust fund, and it had grown to be quite large and spent a lot of money. Also because, by the way, they were in 3 Hollywood movies that were like fictionalized retellings of their lives. But I was reading the synopsis of this movie, like these 3 movies, and they're about like basically like 2 competing doctors, and then they just like go to North Bay and film the Dionne Quintuplets, and then they just go back to Hollywood and film the rest.
Okay.
So they're in these movies. They also do a bunch of like these like little reels, like they're popping off.
Yeah.
So they got a bunch of money in this trust fund, which is great. With the money from the trust fund, the Dionnes build a large mansion for the family. They had 8 other kids, by the way. Just reminding you, they had 5 kids before and 3 kids after.
The past is insane.
Yeah.
Why would you? Why?
Yeah, I can't even.
I can't imagine. If that's what you want to do, like go for it. I just can't fathom.
No, I can't. Giving birth 13 times.
Also, they're so fucking loud. Like you're gonna have babies 13 times.
I was watching a video of like the quintuplets, and it's like an old timey video. So like obviously the sound quality isn't that great, but it's like the 5 girls lying in a row and they're going. It was just so much like.
Yep.
It's like putting on like, did you ever go to the store as a kid and just like click the button on all the Tickle Me Elmos so that they would all go at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it's like being shot at by a firing squad.
I do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
So they moved into the house in 1943. Life in this house was not great. It was pretty difficult. There was obviously a distance between the girls who had been like taken away and put to live on a farm for 10 years and the rest of the family who had stayed being a family. The girls also saw that their family members, their parents and their siblings were living pretty extravagantly based on money from this trust fund and like proceeds from it kind of thing.
That's horrible.
So they're just kind of like,
That's my money that I earned from being a baby behind a glass pane.
yeah. Also trigger warning for sexual assault.
Oh God.
But the girls did accuse their father of sexual abuse. I'm not going to recount it on the podcast because also how do you quantify sexual abuse?
Yep.
But you can look it up. The claims were never really proven, nor do I think they were ever really taken seriously in any way.
Of course.
But like, you don't have to do a lot to convince me that someone was committing a sex crime, quite frankly.
Statistically speaking,
surprising.
probably happened.
Seeing as their father also already sold them to a fair when they were
then
one
the
day
government,
old,
and then the Red Cross.
then the government, and then the Red Cross.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past him.
Okay.
This was in the mid 40s to early 1950s kind of thing.
That's horrible.
So the girls left home at 18, and they were obviously pretty resentful of their parents.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, a lot of it was also the government's fault. Like, the parents sucked, but also, like, girl.
There was no, like you were saying, there's no adult that acted responsibly in this story.
No, except
fucking
for
Dr.
randomly
Defoe
the
is,
church.
I know, a
win.
rare church win.
Rare church win.
I know.
Yeah, Dr. Defoe
Just doing
was,
fucking Colgate, just doing brand deals.
Yeah, insane. So they had limited contact with their parents after. So that's kind of like, I have little footnotes on what happened to each of the girls, but that's pretty much like the sensation
story,
of the Dionne Quintuplets. It's insane.
It's sad.
It's honestly, it's sad, and it's also just frankly nuts.
Yeah. Is one still alive?
There's 2 still alive.
That's crazy.
So they all left home at 18. Amélie joined a convent in Quebec. She was very intent on being like, I just want to be a nun, which like respect to you.
Also in the past, like my mom got a bunch of like of our family photos like developed from and like put on the wall.
Cool.
And there's so many, I was like, why is this a family photo where there's 5 priests and 7 nuns? Like I do truly think like any woman in the past, and hey, you can argue against this if you're a nun and you think this is wrong. I do think if you were a lesbian or queer,
You became a nun.
because I would.
Oh, 100%.
I'd be like, oh, I get to hang out with my girls.
It's also
and
one
not
of
like in
those
a gay
things-
way, even just to being like, I don't want to have a husband. Every man in this time is horrible.
And it's also like, you have to think like, especially in the context of these women, like their whole childhood was just like being manipulated by adults and adult men
And
specifically.
abused. Yeah, regardless.
Because also like
the church was good.
And the church was good. Well, and it's also kind of like, what are you going to do as a woman of like limited means, really, if you want to have an independent life at this time? It's either like get married or be a nun kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Amélie joined a convent in Quebec. She pretty much immediately gets very sick with a bunch of seizures. And she has a seizure and she suffocates to death at 20 years of age.
That's sad.
It's very sad. Marie died in 1970 at the age of 35 in Montreal from a blood clot. Yvonne had a varied career. She worked as a nurse, a sculptor, and a librarian. She never married and had no children. And Annette married and had 3 sons. Cecile also married and had 5 children, including twins.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because isn't that the thing? Like, it's in your
genes.
It's like blue eyes. It's like you can get the twin gene.
But can you imagine that, like, giving birth and being like, oh no,
Again.
Oh no, wait, there's another one coming.
I know.
Oh God, there's gonna be 3 more.
Crazy.
So both of those women got divorced. All the girls obviously had trust issues. They had issues throughout their lives of like maintaining meaningful relationships based on their childhoods. Big shocker there. The 3 sisters ended up living together in a house in Montreal by the 1990s.
Yes, baby.
They sued the government of Ontario in 1998 and received a $4 million settlement for the stuff that had happened to them in their childhood.
Warranted. You should get more.
You should get more, but also like think about like this is 60 years later. Like
Yeah,
they
this
are
is
like
good.
Seniors at this point.
Huge win for Montreal.
A huge win for Montreal. But they also like at one point the government offers them like $2,000 a month or something. As like a penance. Like they're like, oh, we'll pay you $2,000 a month as a story. And they were like, no, we want millions.
Yeah, so we did the math.
Which I mean, pop off queens.
Yeah.
And Yvonne, who's the one who had the varied career, who
Sculptor,
never married,
nurse,
died
librarian.
in 2001 in a hospital in Montreal at 67 after receiving a surgery for cancer. And the other 2 women are still alive.
It's wild that they're still alive.
I know. It feels like this should be more distant history, but
it's really not. They're just kicking around.
They're like 91. Wow. Insane. So I also just wanted to, I'll put the pictures in the video, but I found a picture of the main pavilion of like the gift shop basically.
Oh my God.
And the signs on it are so crazy. It's kind of hard to find pictures of Quintland that really like encapsulate it. But there's
See Babies Picture Gallery.
Typical French Canadian products. Home cooked meals and lunches. The world's most famous 5 babies.
Postcards, souvenirs.
Like they are a product, right?
This is wild. This is like friggin' like this is like
it's not
like
good.
Center Island.
Yeah, it's bad. It's not good.
Yikes.
So the lesson here, folks.
Don't do this.
Don't have 5 babies.
Yep.
Also, later in their lives, they sent an open letter to, there was a couple who gave birth to septuplets.
Okay.
Like 7 babies at one time. And they sent an open letter to them.
Being like, do
not exploit these babies. You will ruin their lives. Like we felt nothing
advocacy.
But betrayal, which I think is very cool.
Well, it's sad that it happened with Octomom.
What happened with Octomom?
Well, just those babies were exploited. Like I remember, like why am I hearing about them as a child in Maryland? You know,
it's also like John and Kate plus 8.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's interesting even hearing about this in relation to like all these kind of conversations people are having now about like family vloggers and stuff.
Oh God, I couldn't stop thinking about that.
No, like the bounds by which like people will exploit their kids is really crazy to me. Even like I always talk about how like because when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be like a child star. I'm so happy that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And even though it's like harder now, like basically every single person that's really famous was either a Disney star or a Nepo baby. Like that's kind of it. But like at the end of the day, I'm like, I actually had like a life, like as a child.
Yeah.
Like if I ever had kids and they were like, I want to be an actor, I'm like, well, you can be in community theater. You know?
And it's also like pretty horrifying because when I joined the union, you have to do all these like training modules to join as a union member. And a lot of them are just sort of like, when are you entitled to lunch? When are you entitled to a ride? Like just like knowing your rights and stuff like that. And then there are truly like 4 sections just about like, if you see a kid being mistreated on set, you have to report them. Like, how long can a child work? When does a child have to go to school? Like, if you see that they are like, they've just like neglected to get a tutor, who do you report it to? Like, it was so much about
crazy.
Just like, and like, all I could think was like, what had to happen to these kids?
Yeah, that this was
half
added.
the training is about like being with a kid on set.
That's horrible.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Also, like newborn babies. Like, how does a newborn baby become an actor? Like,
no, whenever I see a baby in a show, I'm like, these parents should be in jail.
When it's also, they take like 20 newborn babies.
Yeah, like I'm
because
like,
they can only be on set for 15 minutes.
But I'm like, why the fuck? Like, it's one thing, and I still don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm like, it's one thing if you have like a precocious 8-year-old who wants to be on
Yeah,
set.
you have a Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, there's a difference between that and being like, no infant is made for the screen. Like, why are you doing this? It's really weird. It's really fucking weird.
It's really freaky.
Maybe barring our Triangle Shirtwaist Factory episode, this has got to be one of our saddest.
It's pretty sad. I think like the nice thing about it, like at least for me, is that like they did end up getting their autonomy.
Yeah, that's really happy.
Which was really nice. And I do think that like they at least partially helped this not happen again. For sure it did happen in different settings, but like I don't know.
They tried.
They tried their best, and I do think like it's nice the two of them are still living.
Yeah. Do you have a let's make this tragedy about us?
Yeah. Shall we go for it?
Yeah. Let's make this tragedy about us.
How would you punish these fuckers?
The
people who did it. Like
I'm trying to think of like a monkey's
parents
paw
and
situation.
like Dr. Defoe.
Yeah, well, obviously I want the dad. I want him to get flattened by a steamroller.
Yeah,
I think that's fucking fair.
Made into a carpet.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Lit on fire.
Yes.
I just have like no space for like, I mean, crazy, but like anybody like sexual abusers, I'm just like,
it's like
fucking, especially with kids. I'm like, just
again?
fucking loser shit. Like I'm like, you're such a fucking pathetic loser freak.
Yeah.
So yeah, flattened to death, slow.
Yeah. Slowly flattened to death.
I want Dr. Defoe. I want him to experience kind of ego death first. I want him to get canceled in some way.
Yeah.
He kind of like spins out. I would like that, and then die.
Yeah. I think like Buried Alive
Ooh,
would
I
be
like
a good
that.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On live stream.
On live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like just have like cameras on you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That would be mine. I didn't even bother looking up what happened to him because
it's gonna be fucking annoying. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm sure he got a fucking award.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
he was given like the Order of Canada.
Yeah, like the award of being a fuck ass.
Yeah.
Like, let me look it up. Let me see. Okay. Dr. Defoe. Canadian doctor. His name was Alan. Oh my God, he was, fun fact, he was born on May 29th. So he was born one day after the quintuplets.
But many years before.
Yeah. Oh, he was awarded the Order of the British Empire.
Yeah, that seems about right.
He died on the 2nd of June, 1943 from pneumonia. So he died around the time.
So you know what? That's not...
Oh, he's buried in Toronto at Park Lawn Cemetery.
Oh, let's go visit.
And his home in Callander, Ontario is now a museum. And there's also a Dionne Quintuplet museum, which I believe closed, but their home has been preserved. It's good.
Right. Yay! And on that note, thank you guys so much for listening. Hope this was a good vibe.
Hope this was an amazing vibe and it made you feel awesome.
Awesome, really good about the world. We love it.
We love it and we love you. And thank you for tuning in as usual.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.